What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hogwarts Legacy, my first few hours and my impressions are going to be contained within this particular video. I'm not using any spoiler footage. I know earlier today I streamed some of it, but I put a big fat spoiler warning on the title so that you didn't go in there and jump in and your eyes burned. So for this video, which will be made public because those streams are already hidden as well too, you're going to hear my own thoughts surrounding the game so far. Now, I'm in my first few hours of the game, and that's pretty much what it is that, I've been doing because I'm just really limited for time. I tried to get the, game so I could get the early access, but it seems like I'm going to be stewing over this game for a long time. That being said, the initial premise of the game and the way the game is presented to you, the world, the character, the movement, the environment, and all of the above are pristine. It is absolutely, and for the use of a very, very appropriate word here, magical. They made sure that they did their job with the level design and so on and so forth. And I think even the first few hours of the game you can watch without getting any spoilers, because almost all of that is stuff that you've seen in early gameplay, stuff that you've seen in the gameplay trailers, even in this trailer that you're seeing right here. This was, I think, the PlayStation trailer a long time ago. You're basically going to be, or the gameplay, the first gameplay trailer that they did, in a sense, you're going to be able to see a lot of these different aspects of the game. So that's a very big deal when it comes to how the game has been presented. And I'm certain that there are people here in the community who are going to love every single aspect of this. Now, as somebody who's not really a big Harry Potter fan, I do nonetheless appreciate the way they've represented that world in this video game. The best of my knowledge is the movies. I watched all the movies and got a lot of exposition and my questions answered from a reader of the book, my wife. So she read all the books. Oh, thank God, because I'm not really a big fiction reader. I prefer the nonfiction genre. So thankfully, I've been able to get my cards and my ducks in a row in understanding as much as I possibly can. And from what I see, and if somebody who's a noob is telling you that they've seen pretty much an adaptation that is close to what you got to see in the movies, the depiction and some themes within the book, then already I'm impressed. Now, you as a hardcore fan, if you are in that boat, you're probably going to have things you're nitpicking, or maybe it may be complete and total in a sense in the way the world is represented. So this is actually a very good thing. It's one of the things that I'm surely, confident that a lot of people within this community are definitely going to love. Now, Hogwarts Legacy is an open world game. So for now, I'm exploring just the world within the castle because it appears that the developers want to make the castle a pivotal aspect of this game. So you will be all over the castle doing all kinds of stuff and running around and doing quests and so on and so forth, which is what leads me to my only qualms about the entire introductory phase of the game, which is it's very exposition heavy and fetch quest heavy in a sense. And I think it might be a setup for something, but this is just a preliminary conversation regarding what it is. Now, the question, though, is the payoff going to be, in my opinion, is it going to be something that is worth all of this time spent in, world building and environment building and magic building? And if that's the case, then it will all be worth it at every single phase. Sorry, did I say phrase? I meant to say at every single phase. So these are a few things that, I'm over here taking into account, a few things that I'm actually looking at. And I think the developers are in a position to nail exactly what it is that you should experience if you were, say, in this world. That is, if the Harry Potter movies were never done and a book was written as a prequel to Harry Potter, what would that book look like? I think this particular game is pretty much doing its best to answer that question and would more than likely get the job done. So this is my initial, thought process regarding all of what I've seen so far in Hogwarts Legacy for its first few hours. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to gameplay, I got to see a review that said something about, after you play about 15 hours of the game, you've done it all and so on and so forth. And again, it takes me back to my initial conversation. Remember, I mentioned this to a lot of folk here in the community, that one thing about this game that you have to pay very close attention to, or at least you have to be very, aware of, is making a video game in a logical sense requires that specific things be done depending on the direction you want to go. Hogwarts Legacy seems to have taken a much more hand-holding, traditional RPG quest marquee type gameplay set of elements. So beware of that, especially if you're somebody who's coming from, maybe a game like Elden Ring or maybe some other games out there, and you've been able to basically go ahead and see some other things that across the board, and you're not going to necessarily not like it. You will appreciate it, but be wary of that. That's something that's going to pretty much be right in front of you. So I'm just saying that, as a precaution, because some people might go in, I don't know what they're expecting, but keep that in mind, because even if you want to argue, say, oh, maybe they should have used a different direction or, gone a different directive, I think it's also interesting that, because of the complex nature and the way things are already established within lore, this is not really an original story in a sense. It's an original adaptation of an already established story. So I see reason for doing this, even though, yes, in my opinion, I have to take breaks because I'm like, okay, I have to do all these different things. I'm going to come back to it so I don't, kind of get bored or whatever it is. I just want to take my time and enjoy the different elements. I can see from a gameplay perspective where this set of or these parameters that they're using are very necessary to be able to establish what this game is. Now, if you're looking for, say, maybe an action aspect of the game doesn't necessarily delve into that initially when you start. I don't see anywhere where you can actually get that done. And everything seems to be predetermined in a sense in this beginning part. They really want you to kind of they want to build this world and they hold your hand through it. And eventually it seems like they're going to let you loose. And once they let you loose, I think that's where you're really going to be able to kind of take everything you've learned and not feel overwhelmed, because, the game is probably going to pose its own challenges. And so to me, all I'm seeing is with everything in place, there's going to be much required of you as the game progresses. So these are also preliminary thoughts as to what's possibly going to be coming, here in the next few hours once I start playing the game. But, I'm willing to give it, all of the open-mindedness that I possibly can, because, it's a whole different experience for me. It's one thing to watch the movies. It's one thing to read the books. It's one thing to do both. And then it's another thing to come from the movies to the game, and something to come from the game to the books. From the books to the movies to the game. It's all different experiences. So I'm really excited to see how people are going to keep, reacting to this as the game, eventually unfolds, for the community. So thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.